Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our May Lunch and Learn series. Today we're going to be looking at Sage 100 and how it interfaces with Excel and the wonderful tools and abilities that will have to help you with your software and your accounting needs. Today our presenter is Mr. Robert Rusinello, and with that I'm going to turn everything over to Robert. Thank you.
Excellent. Great. So, we had a good response to our last Excel webinar, so we decided to hold another one. And what I'm going to cover is the way Sage 100 interfaces with Excel. And with that, I've noted there's two possibilities for us to get information from Sage 100 to Excel. One is what I call a push method. That is, you're starting in Sage and you're pushing the data to Excel. The other way is a pull method. That is, you're starting in Excel information from Sage 100 into Excel. So we'll kind of go through each of these, go through a small demonstration. We're going to go through exporting information from Lookups, also exporting from grid data entry screens, and we'll go through general journal entry and see how we can Excel. We'll also export information from tables. We'll look at Business Insights Explorer and how we can create kind of a mini query there and export that information. And then my favorite when pulling information from Sage is starting in Excel and just pulling information directly. If I've worked with you one-on-one, you'll certainly realize I use this pretty much throughout my process, because I'm able to pull information into Excel and then use Excel to really slice and dice the data to kind of get the information you're looking for. And we'll also take a look at Sage Intelligence Reporting. We also have webinars with Sage Intelligence Reporting and BizNet, which are Excel-based report writers. So we'll take a look at some of the resources that are available out on the web. So let's go ahead and start with some of the ways we can push information out into Excel. And the most common is using lookups. Now, you guys are familiar with using lookups. Anywhere you have a magnifying glass, that is considered a lookup. So in AR, our customer list is our lookup. In inventory and item maintenance, our magnifying glass opens up our inventory list. Okay, so anywhere you have a magnifying glass opens up a lookup. Now, the default lookup for when I open up customer maintenance is just my customer list. Okay, we have the ability to customize this lookup to give us possibly more information related to the customer than just what's visible here. And we can do that by hitting the custom button. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my state custom lookup that I've created. And what I did was I pulled information from the customer master file table on the left, and I brought it over onto the right. So whereas my normal lookup has a name, code, and sort fields, I went ahead and brought over the state, brought over some balance categories. Okay, and if I wanted to, I can bring over a couple more, like the country code, maybe the email address. And I'm not going to filter my selection. And now, if you see, when I open up my lookup, I have my normal standard lookup, but I also have a lookup that I just created called state that has all of the extra fields that I want. and I just added a couple more right now, which is the country code and email address. Okay, if I even wanted to filter this, I can say, show me everything where my state field is equal to California. And you can see that my list is filtered out some. And now I could take this information and I can push it out, clicking the little Excel button on the right-hand side. And I now have a list of my customer list for customers that are in the state of California with their current balances. So you can see how you can simulate a report without having to know Crystal, without having to design a Crystal report. We can create a quick and dirty report that's always updated. So every time somebody updates an invoice, this information gets updated. All I have to do is come back in and open up my lookup, and this information will be updated, and I can hit my Excel button and export that out into Excel. Okay, this Excel button is available in all of your lookups. Using custom, creating a custom lookup is available. But just because you have the information in your lookup that you're used to seeing every day, understand that if you wanted to create a report, you can hit the custom button and start digging in to see what data elements are available for you to use. Okay, so a very powerful tool using the custom lookups and then being able to export that information out into Excel. Now another possibility for us to export information out to Excel, if I go back into customer maintenance and I go into one of these screens here, I'm looking at a customer admin processing. I'm looking at their information for 2010, and I may want to do some analysis. I can right-click in here and hit Export to Excel, and it will export that information out for me. Okay, so I have this ability to, again, do this by customer. If I were doing the same thing in inventory, anywhere I have a table like this, I'm looking up inventory for the year by month. I'm going to do it for all warehouses. I can right-click, hit Export to Excel, and I am good to go. I have that information that I can now maybe do some analysis on. Okay, again, I'm pushing information from Math into Excel. It's a one-shot deal, so of course now I'm in Excel. If I wanted to rerun this, I would simply go to another item or back to my same item, and I would right-click and export out to Excel. Now, just because you see things in a table format like this does not yet mean you can do it throughout all of Sage 100. If I go into transactions, you'll notice this is white versus shaded. This is not a table. So if I right-click here, unfortunately, I do not get anything with an Excel button. It would be nice to be able to do this. I've talked to some Sage analysts before, and it's been noted that this would be a nice enhancement, but it is not there yet. Same thing here. If I come over here, don't have that yet, but I do have it over here. Anywhere there's a shaded grid area, I will be able to right-click and hit Export to Excel. Okay, so this is exporting from tables out into Excel. Now another possibility is if I have any type of data entry screen, and I'm going to use an example for general journal, but this will work in cash receipts entry, in invoice data entry, in PO. I will create a simple journal entry. and I will go ahead and populate and for those of you who do lots of journal entries and you have not realized, if you have an unbalanced entry on the very last line, you can click the net balance and it automatically fills your last line. This could be helpful if you're doing an entry and the last line is an offset to cash or offset to some account. You can hit that net balance and it will essentially balance out your journal entry and plug your numbers. So this is a credit entry of $25. I now have 3 lines here. Understand that in this area I can come in and right click and I have an export to Excel button that allows me to take my journal entry and export it out to Excel. If you wanted to just confirm that everything is okay, you can essentially do that. You got your hash totals. You know that your data entry was correct. You can do this, again, in journal entry, anywhere there is data entry going on, cash receipts, invoice, POs, sales orders. You can simply right-click anywhere in that pane and hit Export out to Excel. Okay, so a very nice tool within Sage 100. Now, another area we can get information from Sage out into Excel is using Business Insights. If you haven't used this tool, very powerful. You are able to get pretty much any information from Sage out into Excel using one of these views. Now, we do have predefined webinars that go just into Business Insights and walk you through creating different views. What I'm going to do is simulate one of the first views we created, which was looking into the customer maintenance information. Okay, this information all resides in the customer maintenance area of Sage 100. So if I go into the customer view of Business Insights Explorer, when I open up that view, I have similar type information from what we saw using our lookup. Everything that I find in customer maintenance. So I have the current balance, my agent categories, the salesperson for the account, my terms codes, credit limits, email address, and whatnot. If there's information that you don't see here, much like we did in our custom lookup, I can go into this area and right-click. Go into column settings, go into add, and here is my customer table with all of the information. So let's say that the average days overdue is not currently in my list, but I want to see it. I can click OK, and it is now there. I'm going to click everything. And what you will see is that information is now available within my view. I can go ahead and move things around in my view by simply clicking and dragging them over. I can sort and filter my view by using my down arrows. But again, another seminar is devoted entirely into using this section of Sage 100. Very powerful tool. I could even create charts or graphs with this information. But really what we want to do is take this information and see if we can export it out to Excel, because again, what I'm looking at is show me all of my customers in the state of California and pull that out into Excel on a daily basis. So I have my view right now. I can hit File, Export, Export to Excel. And there we go. I have my list from Math, or from Sage 100, into Excel with all of the columns for my view. Again, I can customize my view with only the columns I want. I can then hit Save, and I'm going to call this my CA Customers. And every day I run this, it will be updated real time whenever I open up my view, and I can then take that information and export it out to Excel. So you can see how it's fairly similar to designing and running a crystal report. It's just doing it, within Business Insights. So again, this information similar is available in AR, in GL, and AP inventory throughout Sage. So those are multiple ways we can push information from Sage 100 into Excel. What I like to do on a normal basis is pull information from Sage into Excel. And the way I do that is through a database query. Now, database query, I can start in Excel. I can go to my Data tab. I can go from Other Sources. And I can go from Microsoft Query. Now, what this is going to do is open up a list of database connections. I akin this to toll booths between Sage and Excel. And each of these toll booths will open up Excel to a different product, to Access, to a text file, to Sage 100. And so when it comes up, we will select the toll booth that will connect Excel to Sage 100. There it is. Let's try it again. Let's go from Other Sources, Microsoft Query. There is my data sources. These are my toll booths to different databases. I'm going to connect to the toll booth that will connect me to Sage 100, which is called Pseudomath 90. It has stayed the same for the past 20 years, so I do not expect them to change it in the near future. Once I do that, it will ask me to log into Sage 100. So it will ask me what company code do I want to select. I'm going to select my ABC company code and log in. It is possible that your company has security set up so that you cannot get to certain tables. If so, even when you try this, Sage will say you are not authorized. If you are authorized to get to the area of Sage, then what you will get is tables with the areas you can get into. So in our case, I'm going to go to the AR customer table. I'm going to type in AR, and I'm going to scroll down to the AR customer table. Now, there are lots of tables. I always tell clients, if you're trying to design a report or a query or do something and you're not sure, there are classes in understanding where to get this information in Sage, or you can always email us and we can tell you, yep, you can get that information in the AR customer table or the IM underscore item warehouse table and whatnot. At this point, I'm going to pull everything from that table. So there is a lot of data in here. I'm going to hit Next. Excel asks me if I want to filter. I'm not going to filter any of my selections. However, if I were to try and pull information out from invoice history, sometimes I may try and filter out by invoice date so that in data that I'm interested in. Otherwise, it's going to go back to the beginning of time. And you can always sort your selection. And Excel does ask you to log in twice when designing. So I now have a extract of my customer table with similar information than what we did using the push method. If I go all the way to the end here, I have the balance forward, I have the current balance per customer, and the aging categories. Okay, if I wanted to, I can kind of skinny this report up. And so this is now a live connection to Sage. I can come in and save this Excel spreadsheet on my desktop. And I'm going to call this my AR customer list. And I'm going to close it. I'm going to reopen it in Excel. And understand that this now has information equivalent to how I last saved it. However, if I open this up next month and I want to get an updated list, I can right-click and hit refresh, put in my company code, and I am good. It went out and it updated this list. Understand that if I wanted to update this list for 2 company codes, if you have multiple company codes, all I have to do in Excel is right-click and copy, and I can call this my XYZ customer list. I can right-click and hit refresh and select my XYZ company code, and now I have different customers in my XYZ company than I have in my ABC company. Okay, and these are live links, so as I save this, all I have to do the next time I want to refresh is come in, right-click, and hit refresh. Very powerful. Once you start, getting to this point, you're able to use Excel to filter information pretty powerfully. That's something that Excel does wonderfully. I can come in here and say, show me all of my customers that have balances over $5,000. So I can come over here. I'm going to highlight D. I'm going to split so that I can go all the way to the right and still see my customer list on the left-hand side. And I'm going to use these pull-down menus to filter. Now, everything that's checked off is all of the selections on my list. I can either go one by one and uncheck them, and they will come off my list, or I can pretty much do a filter that says, show me everything that is greater than $5,000. And I now have a list of all of my customers who have a balance over $5,000. If I wanted to see the total of this, at the bottom, the very bottom of my table ends actually at row 18, but I'm going to select 19, my last available field. I'm going to hit Home, and I'm going to hit Auto Sum, and it gives me a total of this selection. And you can confirm that in the bottom right-hand corner of Excel, 689,000. As I change this filter, that number changes. So this is a dynamic subtotal of whatever it is I'm looking at. If I wanted to quickly see the totals of all of the subsequent columns, all I have to do is go to the bottom right-hand corner of that cell and just click and drag it through. And now I have a quick subtotal on all of the other columns. Okay, this is pretty nifty, you know, things that you can do in Excel as a table. You'll notice this information is not necessarily a table as we have with an Excel database query. However, if you want to, you can take this information, if it gets quite large, and you can format it as a table. All I have to do is highlight one of the, one of the cells, hit Format as a Table. Excel will recognize everything here. Now, it actually gave me A1. I probably don't want to do A1. But everything else, I have headers on here. So I can do Format as a Table. Click off my table has headers. And now I have essentially a table, much like I do with a database query, that I can filter, use my sums. Okay. The only difference with this, if you remember, this was a push from Sage 100 to Excel. So if I right-click on this, I do not have the refresh capability, whereas this is a live connection, so I do. Okay. Excel queries, wonderful tools to slice and dice information. Finally, I'm going to go through Sage Intelligence. Now, I am in Sage 100 2014. With this version, Sage Intelligence is now within the Sage menu. It is a separate purchase, but let me show you what we can do in here. As we open up Sage Intelligence, again, this was Sage's replacement to FRX. We also do, work with other vendors as report writers, BizNet and Renovo. But Sage Intelligence is Sage's product. It's an Excel-based report writer, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at AR customer information. And in my ABC company, everything is in 2010. So what it's doing right now, it's going out into Sage 100, it's grabbing the information, and it is pushing it out into Excel for us. Luckily, my ABC data is not large. What it did is, this is a predefined pivot table. Okay? With pivot tables, what you're doing is you're taking a table of information and you're displaying it in this type of report fashion so that you can use different filters to filter your list. So in this case, this is the customer sales report for all of my salespeople. But what if I only wanted to see Jim Kentley sales? Well, it just filtered my list. What if I wanted to see what Jim Kentley sold with cables and accessories? He did sell something. So as you filter these lists down, your report gets filtered, and thus, you can determine, quantity sold, cost of goods sold, dollars sold, whatever information you're looking for. You can use these filters to essentially get to that information. Now, with pivot tables, again, it starts with data. So if I come into this pivot table and I go to change data source, it's telling me that this pivot table is driven from sheet 1 raw data. So I'm going to unhide sheet 1. And you'll notice this kind of looks similar to tables we have been looking at. So what you're doing is you're taking a table of data and creating a pivot table against it. Now, one other thing I will mention in here that is when you're working with tables of data is the ability to use names. So I can come over here and you'll notice that there are names ranges here for information. If I was looking up the quantity shipped, and that was all the way in column Z, and I did not know exactly where to go, I can go to quantity shipped. Okay, I can go into it moved on me. Let's go into formulas, into define name, and I'm going to call this quantity shipped. Oops. Doesn't like spaces. Wherever I am at in my spreadsheet, I can always now go into this area, go into quantity shipped, and it will take me to that area of the spreadsheet I'm looking for. So if you have a spreadsheet that you're working with multiple people, and you don't want people hunting and pecking around the spreadsheet, you can use name ranges to define where quantity shipped is, and when they click on quantity shipped, it puts them right back into that area. Okay, so very, very powerful just using named ranges in Excel. One other feature with Sage Intelligence that I will show you guys is there is a dashboard, and if we run it, let's go ahead and do 2010 for our ABC data. For our budget code, we are going to do original. These are predefined or canned Excel reports that this report writer has. Of course, in some of our demonstrations, we show you how to create reports from scratch. But for this purpose, I'm just going to take an existing report and kind of lift the veil just a bit. So it's going out into Sage 100. It is grabbing the information, putting it into different tabs in Excel. And there we go. So this now has ABC data for 2010. I will not say that you guys will be able to do this off the bat, but with 2014, you will actually have this dashboard available with Sage Intelligence. So you can at least run it with your data. And as you see, revenues, cost of sales, as we kind of lift the veil, these are all formulas. And they all go to different parts of this spreadsheet. So if I go to the Lookup tab, it's pulling information from Sage and it's dumping it in here. Now again, I wouldn't say this is certainly something that you guys are going to be able to recreate. I know we've created some of these for some clients, really by using this type of really mimicking what Sage has done. But essentially this is a dynamic report, so when you're putting in, when we ran the report and we put in May of 2010, all these formulas are nothing more than just taking that information and using lookup tables to populate them. And then, of course, once we have this information populated, then these are looking up to this lookup table. Okay, so pretty nifty again. With 2014, this dashboard is available, and certainly, you know, if you guys are interested in digging in, you can always try and trace backwards. You know, when I do nifty things in Excel, you know, I'll usually work backwards with some of this and try and recreate it to see, you know, this is where our ending point is, and we go backwards to see how we, you know, go back a step and then take this formula and go back a step. So a couple of things with Sage Intelligence as well as BizNet. Sage Intelligence has a website, sageintelligencecommunity.com, that not only goes through things you can do in Sage Intelligence, but also there are some videos, YouTube videos that essentially go through things in Excel. Same thing with BizNet. BizNet software is another report writing software that uses Excel as its report writer. And not only do they go through how to do things in their software, but they also go through how to design in Excel using formulas, using shading. So certainly a couple of good resources available. You know, not only again within their product, but actually go out into Excel and show you how to create charts, okay, and how to use lookup formulas, lookup tables when you're designing. So certainly, I encourage folks to hit those websites, you know, when trying to do things in Excel. With that said, you know, that pretty much completes you know, our webinar. I think the lines are open, so feel free to address any questions, or you can use the chat feature in GoToMeeting if you have any questions. Any questions?
I just utilized the chat feature to show you that you can ask questions there if you are dialing in via web and don't have a microphone. Questions? I'm going to take that as a no. We are having a special webinar tomorrow on the BizNet product because of demand. So tomorrow, same time, same bat channel, you can go out to our website and register, or another email did go out. Or if you need to register and can't find it, please feel free to reach out to me at am for account manager at goism.com. And Robert, I want to thank you for the lovely presentation today. As always, lots of things to learn between our Sage product and how it can interface with other third parties. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.